21 now, but when I was 4 years old, my sister had just turned 16. She had just gotten her license and was so excited. It was probably only September, and she got her license in July. My sister is from my dad's first marriage, and she lived with her mom and stepdad while I lived with our dad and my mom. We lived about 30 minutes apart. My dad worked late hours, and my mom frequently traveled for work, so I had to spend time a lot with my babysitter until my sister got her license. My dad finally gave her permission to pick me up after she got out of school and take me to her mom's until he got off of work. She was so excited to finally be able to use her license. I know I said I was only 4, but I remember this event so vividly. There are parts of it, understandably, that I've forgotten over the years. It took years for my sister to even ask me if I remembered it. But when I told her all the parts I remember, she filled in the rest for me. It was one of the first times my sister would get to pick me up from my babysitter, which means it would be one of the first times she'd been allowed to drive with me alone. Almost as soon as we pulled onto the main road, a white pickup truck swerved behind us. After a few turns, my sister noticed that the truck still followed her. Even when she would just switch lanes, he was right there switching behind her. My sister, being a bit of a paranoid person, tested it a little bit and switched lanes several times. She said she heard his tires squealing by his quick cuts to get behind her. She told me not to worry, and I remember being an oblivious little kid. She looked scared, but I had no concerns. The man started to get really angry. I don't remember really anything about what he looked like, but I do remember that he had this look of pure hate on his face. He wasn't angry. He was full of hate. He was honking his horn repeatedly, just laying on it, and he was very close to our car. He was swerving back and forth, trying to get our attention. He would pull up beside us occasionally and flip us off and honk. The first big event came about when he pulled up at the 4-way stoplight. It's a bigger one, so there was a lot of room in the intersection. We were the first ones at the stoplight in our lane, and nobody beside us. The man used his lane to pass us, and he pulled his car in front of us, almost in the intersection. He was blocking us at this point. I so vividly remember that white pickup truck. He got out of it and started storming towards our car. He was screaming so hard I remember thinking his face almost looked purple. Neither one of us remember what he was saying, but he pulled up his shirt to reveal something that was horrifying. He had a gun. He pointed it at us, threatening us, and closing the gap between us. My sister put her hand over my body and told me to close my eyes, and floored it through the intersection. She said she was worried we were either going to hit him or get hit in the intersection, but it was a better chance than sitting there and waiting for a psycho man with a gun. He hopped back into his car and followed us. My house was closer to where we were than my sister's, so for some reason, she decided to go to my empty house. Obviously, he followed us and blocked us in the driveway. He got out and walked towards my sister's car, pulling out his gun. Once again, she had to think fast and swerve her way across our lawn back onto the road. This is before cell phones, and she had just started driving. It was still young. She had no idea what to do. He followed us back onto our neighborhood road, pulling up next to our car and hitting his truck against us, trying to make us skid or wreck. There's a small area of grass between our neighborhood road and a major busy road, and it was obvious he was trying to push our car hard enough to send us into the traffic beside us. I remember him doing that little gesture where you drag your finger along your throat, like you're slitting it, like he was going to kill us. His face was still purple. There was a gas station nearby, and my sister decided on the last thing she could think of. I remember her talking to me so seriously and sternly. She told me she needed me to be a big kid. In a second, we pulled by the door of the gas station to undo my seatbelt and jump out, run inside so fast that I shouldn't even worry about closing my door. I was to run inside and go directly to the person behind the counter and tell them to call 911 because a bad man was following us. We pulled in, and she threw the car in park and jumped out and did as I was told. She was only a few seconds behind, but she had actually stopped the car, parked it, and turned it off. She closed the door and mine for me and just ran inside with me. The man came into the parking lot behind us, and when we were inside, he went through my sister's car. By the time the police arrived, he was gone. They never found him, and we never knew what provoked him or what his plan was. The only thing he took from the car was my sister's ID and the cash she had on her.